Hi, I'm Captain Mick Counts, the educator for the Staples Inventory Management Team, and you're going to accompany me on my physical inventory patrol as my deputies. But before we can go out on patrol, let me brief you on today's mission. Our larger mission is to count everything in the fulfillment center, which includes case reserve, pallet reserve, case pick active, unit pick active, returns, and specials. However, your specific mission is to count pallet reserve. By the end of this mission briefing, you should be able to perform the processes needed to quickly and accurately count pallet reserve. So before we get too far in, let me give you some background intel on physical inventory. Physical inventory shows any discrepancies between inventory in the WM system and inventory we actually have in the FC. This allows us to readjust inventory in order to be more efficient and accurate. And lastly, it ensures that customers' orders will be filled and delivered next day. As my deputies, there are a few items you'll need to know for PI day. Arrive on time as instructed by your supervisor. Take lunch and breaks as announced, and be sure to return on time. The central area that you'll be getting all your assignments and supplies from is known as the control table. Some of the items you'll need are your counting assignment, a clipboard, a calculator, pens, and tape. The key, and this is very important, to a successful inventory is to count with accuracy. Before I show you an example of a deputy on patrol, let me show you a few mission photos. In this picture, we see an example of a pallet reserve location label. The P on the location label denotes that you are in pallet reserve. In this next photo you'll notice only the case in the bottom right has a C label. This is another element that is specific to pallet reserve. If you do come across any cases that are missing or have ripped C labels, it's critical that you direct the problem to your inventory control team or aisle captains. When counting in pallet reserve, the only count that needs to be entered into the system is the total number of cases on the pallet. In this example you would enter 5 on the line. Let's stop and pause the video for a few minutes and discuss all the information that has been covered so far. Now, let's observe a deputy as they demonstrate the process of counting in pallet reserve. After you have been to the control table and been given your supplies and aisle assignment, you will want to walk or drive your equipment to your assigned aisle. Now that you are at your assigned aisle, you will want to inspect the range of that aisle you were assigned to count. You'll see that the deputy's screen looked different when he first signed into the WM system. During PI, everyone is switched over to a generic PI menu. Once PI is successfully completed, it will be switched back to the normal RF menu. The first step in counting is to select the correct menu option. In this situation that would be physical count pallet R, option 1. Next, enter your aisle code, also called a physical inventory code. Here Deputy McCoy scans a barcode for the aisle code, which is the preferred method. Then a count sequence needs to be entered, which will always be the number 1. Now the deputy is going to scan the location label, which will fill in the location label line on the RF gun, and automatically take him to the next screen. Next, the deputy scans the C label on the case in the lower right, and then the system proceeds to the next screen. Now, the deputy counts the number of cases on the pallet, and enters that information into the RF device, and then presses enter. Lastly, scan or type C to confirm. The C to confirm tells the system that the location has been counted.
Perfect.
If you think you made a mistake and want to recount a location, follow the same steps. After you scan the location label, you'll get an error message, location already counted. Always be sure to use option T, then press enter and count the location as if it had never been counted in the past. Once the location is counted and confirmed, the deputy can move on and count his next location. You can tell that the deputy is ready to move on to the next location, because the RF device is showing the location barcode screen. Every location in the building has to be counted, even the empty locations. To count an empty location, scan the location label, and then scan, or press C to confirm. It is very important that you scan, or type E to end, when you've completed your assigned area, or if you are going on break or taking your lunch. So far we have covered the basics of how to count Pallet Reserve. Next, we'll review and see how to handle different process exceptions that may come up during the counting process. During your counting, if you come across any cases that are missing C labels, have in a pack discrepancies, or that are a mixed UOM, call over your aisle captain, or a member of the inventory control team. If you come across any damaged cases during your counting, leave them in the location, and count them as normal. In the rare situation that you come across a partial case in Pallet Reserve, remove the case from the pallet and put it in the hospital area, and then count the rest of the full cases on the pallet. Now that we have covered both the basics and some of the exceptions you may come across, let's stop and answer any questions you may have, before we continue on to the review. Now let's review the steps associated with counting in Pallet Reserve. First, you need to choose the correct menu option for Pallet Reserve counting, which is Physical Count Pallet R, option 1. Next, you'll scan the aisle code associated with your assignment. Normally the aisle codes can be found at the ends of the aisles. Then a count sequence needs to be entered, which will always be the number 1. Now, you'll scan the location barcode, and then scan the C label located in the lower right of the pallet. Then count the number of cases on the pallet, enter the information into the RF device, and then press enter. Lastly, you would type, or scan, C to confirm. Once you have confirmed the location, you are ready to move on to the next location, and repeat the process over again. Remember, when counting, everything has to be counted, including empty locations. Do you remember how to count an empty location? It's very easy to do, and is an imperative step in the counting process. All you do is scan the location label, and then enter C to confirm. We're almost done. Let's just review a few more items. Do you remember what to do if you come across damaged product in a reserve location? If you answered, just leave it in the location and count it. Then you were correct. Do you remember what to do if you come across any cases that are missing C labels, have in a pack discrepancies, or that are mixed UOMs? If you answered, call over your aisle captain, or a member of the inventory control team. Then you were correct. What must you scan, or type, on the RF device before leaving for breaks or lunch? If you answered, E, for end, then you were correct. What do you enter on the RF device when you are all done counting a location? If you answered, C, to confirm, then you were correct. What do you do if you find a partial case in a Pallet Reserve location? If you answered, pull the partial case out and place it in the hospital area, and count the rest of the pallet, you are correct. Lastly, there are two very important points to remember during PI, which are accuracy and safety. Let's get it right the first time, and complete it in a safe manner. This concludes our mission briefing. You now have all the information needed to be honorary deputies. If you have any questions, ask the support who will be patrolling your area. Good luck, and be safe when you're out on patrol.